We are almost at that time where NFL players who are free agents will sign with any team that they desire. Actually, it's next week. So Monday starting at noon, each NFL free agent whose contract expired will be able to talk with other teams, and then they could officially put pen to paper Wednesday, I believe it is. So today, we are going to talk about how aggressive every team should be in the offseason. And what I mean by that is we're going to take a look at each team's cap space and see how aggressive they should be in free agency, and then also, trade market in consideration too. Here's going to be our tier list for today's video. And before we really talk about it, comment down below how aggressive you think your team should be. Starting at the bottom, this team should be very content. So that means they shouldn't be spending a lot of money. They should be content with the team they have. Content means, calm. May take a couple swings, a good team, Super Bowl contender, may try a couple things, but should kind of not be too aggressive. Don't overpay the player that's not right for your team. We have 50-50, mix of both, and then should be looking at most options. So kind of, call most of the free agents, look at 70% of them, I guess, and then should consider every deal. So that's basically near being really aggressive, but not absolutely swinging. And then that is what the top is. Very aggressive. You are talking to every free agent that you can. You probably have close to $100 million. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's get right into it. All right, so the first team that we have to talk about is the New Orleans Saints. Now, like I said, we're going to take into consideration every team's salary cap situation. The Saints are negative 11.6 in cap space. This is according to Over the Cap, which I believe is the most reliable salary cap website out there. If you guys want to look at this website, Saints negative 11.6 in a hole. That's obviously not a good thing. They have a lot of older players on their team, specifically the defense. Demario Davis and different players like that. Mickey Loomis has not been the smartest with constructing contracts in recent years. So I think the Saints will take a couple swings in free agency, but the time I'm filming this video, March 4th, 420, they do not have the materials to build a fort. So I don't think that the Saints are going to be very aggressive in free agency. How many Dolphins are on the same boat? Do they have much money? They're negative 1.6. They'll restructure some to get more. I think they'll be 50-50. This is relatively mainly in free agency, guys, just so you know. So this is like the next 2-3 weeks. Not the draft, not trade market, anything like that. Dolphins will be 50-50. They don't have the most money, but they will get some more with restructures and releases. Obviously, they just released Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb. Tua will be released, so there's some money. But definitely be interesting to see what the Dolphins do. And teams who always get a new regime will be more aggressive usually. We'll have to see how Jeff Halfley and the new general manager does in their first offseason together. Baltimore Ravens, they have 18 above 0, which is not bad. It's pretty good. Ravens, I think, should be looking at most options. I know they have a good team right now, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, but I still think they should work on their receiver core a little bit more, maybe move on from Rashad Bateman, compliment Zay Flowers there. Tight end, you could look at everything. Isaiah Likely's gone. Mark Andrews has not been playing the greatest. Offensive line, what do you do with Linderbaum? Defense, it's a young unit. Add something there, though. So I think the Ravens should be decently aggressive in this coming free agency, especially with a new coach, Jesse Minter, who is a defensive-minded head coach. Cincinnati, they have good cap space. They are positive 47.2. That can a lot of these cap space numbers usually go up by 10 or 15 by the next week. So realistically, they might have around 60 million. Bengals should be considering a lot, and I will explain why. The Bengals do not have a bad team on paper, but they need to do something with their defense, and their offensive line has been terrible for years. Go overpay offensive linemen at this point. You need offensive linemen. Go get them. You have Joe Burrow, who is a MVP caliber quarterback, who should have already a Super Bowl ring. You have Jamar Chase, who's a really good receiver. You have T. Higgins, who's a really good receiver. Chase Brown, I'm not sure if he's a free agent or not. I think you have him. If not, bring him back. But my point is, you have what's there. You have the pieces to success, but you got to add. Cincinnati, you got to throw that uppercut in the fight. You got to go get some defense. You got to get some playmakers. Obviously, you're losing Trey Hendrickson. How will you respond to that? Go get a linebacker that goes sideline to sideline. Go get a safety that will take the ball away. And go get a defensive lineman that will punch the offensive lineman in the face every single play. Cincinnati needs to take a lot of swings this offseason. Next up, we have the Denver Broncos. They are up 25 million, so that is pretty positive. But I think this team will only take a couple swings. They don't need to be aggressive. They are in a good spot in terms of their roster. Receiver is my main thing. I don't think they should really spend a dime on defense. If anything, you bring in some depth. I don't think you really change that starting defense at all, if you're asking me. But offensively, out of the line a little bit, maybe a tight end, but mainly get a wide receiver. If you move on from Cortland Sutton, replace him. If you don't, get another wide receiver. There's rumors of Mike Evans. I think if the only signing that Denver Broncos did was Mike Evans, that's a good offseason. New York Giants, where are they? They're 9 up. I would have said, I'll say consider every deal just the state of their roster, but I know they financially might not be able to afford it. They just released Bobby Okereke, who I think is a really good linebacker. I'd love to see him in black and blue for the Carolina Panthers next year. The Giants should be aggressive. They should be looking at everything. They need receivers. They really need to renovate that offensive line. Outside of Andrew Thomas and John, that offensive line is not the greatest. Defensive line, I really like it. I know they underperformed as a unit last year, but Abdul Carter is really good. Brian Burns is really good. Dexter Lawrence is a top 5 defensive tackle in football. And at corner, you could add there too. You have to figure out, will Deontay Banks take that next step or not? And then safety, I like Tyler Nubin. I like who's their safety? Oh my gosh, I can't think of him. I swear they have another solid safety there. Xavier McKinney. He's on the Giants now, I'm pretty sure. Is he on the Packers? I think he's on the Packers. But he's on the Packers. But yeah, so just add more really to the team. Obviously, you got John Harbaugh, new regime, so I think the Giants will be one of those teams that will look at every deal. Next up, we have the Vikings. They are in cap obliteration. They are negative 46. And I'm going to, they need a quarterback, but I have to put them here because of their money. If they had maybe, let's say, 15 mil, I'd be putting them around here. But right now, I have to put them here because of their money. They have literally no money. Negative 50 mil or whatever it was. But Vikings need a quarterback. I'm not completely giving up on J.J. McCarthy. But I think they need to bring in a veteran. There's heavy rumors about Kyler Murray, maybe Kirk Cousins reunion. But Minnesota, they have that roster that is very good, and they need to bring in a couple players and bring in a quarterback that will take them over the hump and to the next level. All right, moving on, we have the Los Angeles Rams, who have 27 mil. But honestly, after seeing the trade today, they acquired Trent McDuffie from the Kansas City Chiefs. In case you didn't see that, they're only going to take a couple swings. They're not going to do much with their team. Um, you know what? I'm going to delete this tier. I think I'm just going to delete this one. It just doesn't feel right. I think the Rams, since they made that Trent McDuffie trade, that's all they really need. They might do a couple things, obviously minor signings, but I don't think they should be too aggressive for any big names at this point. They still have a first round pick from the Falcons. So yeah, the Rams are pretty content right now. Obviously, Super Bowl contending roster, so that's definitely a positive for them. But Trent McDuffie is huge. I was literally saying on my live stream last night, if you were there, shout out to you, that the Rams need some secondary help, and the next day they get Trent McDuffie. So that is definitely good for them. So yeah, Rams, they might take a couple jabs here, but they should be chilling. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 19 above. I think they're going to be a team that's looking at most options, especially if they lose Mike Evans. They're going to want to add to that wide receiver room to complement Egbuka. Um, Defensively, it could get better too. Some older defensive players there, but I think this is a team that they think that they have a good enough roster to compete, and they're gonna take that approach and use their money wisely on some solid players. Detroit, they're -6 in the hole right now. I think it'll be 50-50 overall. I think that the Lions still have a good roster. I think the main reason they weren't really competitive last year was because they lost both their coordinators, Ben Johnson to the Chicago Bears, and then They also lost Aaron Glenn to the Jets. They both took a head coach opportunity. Now they got Drew Petzing from um, Arizona, and then obviously Kelvin Shepard, who's an in-house guy. But I think Detroit will be better next year. I know they just traded away Demo, but it'll be interesting to see who they get as backup. And then defensively, they need to improve that secondary a bit more. But I think Detroit, they're in a solid spot. They just need to take a couple more swings, get a little more money. I think this is going to be mainly a team that builds through the draft again. Chicago Bears, where are they? Let's see. They are -7, but I think this is a team that's going to be looking at a lot of options. They're a team that they are last year's Commanders to me, low key. I know they didn't go as far as the Commanders did, but they're in that spot, kind of. So what the Bears need to do is they should not go in this free agency and spend every dime they have. What they should do is they should bring in a couple more players that will contribute, balance the team more. The Bears, I don't think, should be a team that gives up 3 first-round picks for a player, let's say Max Crosby, and that's it. They don't need to do that. They shouldn't do that. The Bears need to go in free agency, get 2 or 3 more solid players that will cost about 50, 60 million and roll with them. So my point is, I think the Commanders got way too aggressive after only 1 year of success. You want to make the playoffs and sustain that success. You don't want to be there and then disappear right after. And being too aggressive with money is a main reason why teams are not in the playoffs for consecutive years. So I think the Bears, they just need to take a couple swings and then roll with that. San Francisco, 37 mil. I think they need to be really in on every deal. I know they have a good team, but a lot of their players are getting older. Some of them are rumored to be released. We already know a couple of them. There's a chance of Big Trent leaving. I don't think he will personally, but I could be wrong. But the Niners, they know the division that they're in, the Rams and the Seahawks. They know they have a player, Christian McCaffrey, who's really good, who's getting older. They have George Kittle, who's getting older. A lot of their best players on this team, Fred Warner, they're getting older. They're unfortunately getting hurt a bit more. This team needs to be very aggressive. They need to sign a lot of depth too because of, unfortunately, all the injuries that this team has been dealing with. The San Francisco 49ers, with their salary cap position and their skill level and the division that they're in, should be spending a lot of money this offseason. Also, they're losing Juwan Jennings, so they're losing practically their top 2 wide receivers. Well, Brandon Ayuk was nowhere to be found, but Philadelphia, where are they? They are 12. Okay. Most options. Obviously, this is a playoff team. The number one question for the Eagles is what's going on with A.J. Brown? Will he get traded? They could figure that he could get traded right after I post this video, and he could be on that team being a Pro Bowler next year. We don't know. We're not sure. That's the number one priority for the Eagles right now. Figure out what they want to do there. And if they move on from him, they need to be aggressive for a wide receiver. But the Eagles, Howie Roseman, arguably the best GM in the NFL. He's never satisfied, so they're actually going to be on every deal. The Raiders, $88 million, new head coach, number one overall pick. They're going to be very aggressive. They're going to spend a lot of money. A lot of money. So, yeah, that's not going to be very surprising at all when they get like 5 of the top 50 free agents. They're going to be like the Patriots last year. Them and the Titans. Packers, where are they? They are -5. Green Bay, 50-50. They get a receiver. I went on this rant recently, like a couple weeks ago. Go get a receiver. Get a receiver, please. For your fans, get a receiver. Matthew Golden did not do the job. Christian Watson is not a wide receiver 1. Romeo Doubs is leaving. He's definitely going to sign to another team. Go get another wide receiver, and then just improve certain positions. Add more to the corner spot. Maybe add another linebacker. But Green Bay, there's plenty of opportunity to get better. Get more money though first. Commanders, 72 million. They should consider every deal and not how they did last year. Don't sign every single older player. But what they should do is they should get a lot younger and use money to get a lot younger. The Commanders are going to be one of those teams, I'm calling it right now. Commanders are going to have a top 5 signing, if they're smart, in most players between the ages of 24 and 29. Or that's too broad. 24 and 27. Sign a lot of players that are young but experienced, and the Commanders will be just fine. Arizona, um, 30. They're going to be very aggressive. Obviously, they were really bad last. Let's just get these out of the way. Tennessee, they're going to be very aggressive. Chargers will be very aggressive. They have a lot of money. They need to upgrade that offensive line. And then obviously some spots on the defense. I wouldn't mind seeing the Chargers bring in another wide receiver too. Tennessee, I really like their future. I think Robert Saleh deserves a second chance. I think Brian Daboll is going to do an incredible job with Cam Ward. He's very high on him. And yeah, so Tennessee, Arizona, they're going to spend a lot of money. Chargers actually have the most cap space right now. And then also the Jets will be very aggressive too. They have a lot of money. The Jets need to be aggressive. They're going to be terrible next year either way. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter there. But those teams will be very aggressive considering the situation that they're in, how many wins they had last year, and the cap space they have now. All right, moving on, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're above 40 mil, so they have a lot of money. I think they'll definitely be looking at most options here. Their main thing right now is asking Aaron Rodgers if he's going to play there next year or not, if he's going to retire or what. He is a guy who likes to drag things out for attention, though, so we'll have to see what the ultimate decision there is. But it's going to be interesting. But I think the Steelers, they definitely need to assess the wide receiver position a bit more. A lot of these teams need wide receivers. I feel like I keep repeating myself, but they do. And then defense, get a little younger, get more players in there. But I think the Steelers, they will be looking at most options. Then we have the Buffalo Bills, negative 8 mil. Brandon Beane has not been taking much chances, so it's 50-50. This team needs to get a little bit more money and get a wide receiver, but they haven't been able to. They're not going to do nothing until Brandon Beane is fired. Catastrophically huge, I think. I think the biggest chance of anything happening for Buffalo is Mike Evans this offseason. But then again, you don't want to give him a 4-year, $150 million deal like Brandon Beane would. So, Atlanta, where are they? I have no idea. Oh, they're 8 mil, so they're around the Panthers basically. They'll be looking at most options, especially with Kevin Stefanski now there, new GM too. They'll definitely look at a lot. And yeah, Seattle, interesting because yeah, they just won the Super Bowl, but they're 58 above cap space. So I think Seattle is 50-50. They might try to add more to what they have. John Snyder is a very good and smart GM, so he might add more to what he already has. And if he does, I would definitely trust him to not overpay players. And, this could be a situation where the Seahawks go and get a huge player, and that's it. Like, they might just sign a huge player, and that's it. So, yeah. New England, they are 39 mil. They still have a lot of money. I think they'll be looking at most options. I think they'll definitely be in on a lot of deals. They were last offseason, and I think they will kind of do a similar approach this offseason. Obviously, you don't want to change too much when you just went to the Super Bowl, but you don't want to be too aggressive like the Commanders just were, and looked how that turned out. Browns, where are they? Negatives? Yeah, no, they're not doing anything. Nobody's going to want to go there, so they're the Browns. No money. No one's going to want to go there. Yeah, it's not going well there. Texans, where are they? They're -7. They just traded for Demo. I think they're 50-50. If they can get some money, they'll definitely do some things. But other than that, I don't really see them doing anything huge. But I could be wrong. Kansas City, 24 mil. They are around the middle of the pack, a little above. They just traded Trent McDuffie. They obviously were negatives a little back, so I think they will look at a lot of options. I don't know what Kansas City is going to do. I don't know if they're going to kind of enter a rebuild mode a little bit, or if they're just going to retool, change some things up, and be aggressive in free agency. Only time will tell, but I think if you're a free agent, it's still an intriguing place you'd want to play. Dallas, 9 mil. I think they're going to be very aggressive. Consider every deal. Jerry Jones has said that he wants to be aggressive. I think the trade deadline went a lot better for them. I know they cut Logan Wilson, and then they still have Quinn Williams. They obviously traded Micah Parsons. They have Kenny Clark. I think they will be aggressive. Will they make the right decisions? I'm not saying that, but they will make a lot. Next up, we have the Panthers. We have 8 mil. Carolina, I think we'll look at most options. I don't want us to be overly aggressive and spend every dime we have, but I do want us to get a player at linebacker. I do want us to bring in a little more offensive line depth. Maybe a tight end if one becomes available for a good price, and then another corner. I just want Carolina to balance it out a bit. Don't be too aggressive, but definitely look at a lot of options. Indianapolis, where are they? Indianapolis Colts. They're -4. I don't 50-50, I guess. I don't see them being widely aggressive. They kind of were at the trade deadline, giving up first round picks for Sauce Gardner. That was their aggressiveness. If they don't bring back Alec Pierce, if they trade Michael Pittman, they'll definitely be in the market for a wide receiver. They'll probably do that in the draft, though. And then we got the Jaguars. Where's the Jaguars? Where are the Jacksonville Jaguars? Wow. I'm just not seeing them at all here. Jaguars, 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 Jaguars. Are they even on here? Oh my goodness. Oh, there they are. -16 mil. Um, I don't think they're gonna do much. They already have a team. They just want to kind of like keep building what they have, keep developing. And then they don't have any money anyway. But here's my tier list with how aggressive every NFL team should be in free agency. So obviously took cap space into a decent consideration. Teams that may take a couple swings, cap space reasons. You have the Saints, then you have the Broncos, Rams, cap space reasons, Vikings, Browns being the Browns, and then cap space reasons for the Jaguars. 50-50, you have the Dolphins, Lions, Packers, Bills, Seahawks, Texans, Colts. Should be looking at most options, which is the populated tier by a little bit. You have Ravens, Bucks, Bears, Steelers, Falcons, Patriots, Chiefs, Panthers. Should consider every deal. Bengals, Giants, 49ers, Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, and then very aggressive, you have Raiders, Cardinals, Titans, Chargers, Jets. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below who you want your team to sign. So, like, say, as a Panthers fan, I want us to sign Trey Hendrickson. And let me know how aggressive you think your team will be in the offseason. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.